Live, and we are in Paris, France. We're not here having anything to do with the French or Paris. We're here for a meeting that took place yesterday with the Mujahideen al Khalq and a speech that I gave and Dr. Maria gave and several others to the assembled, I don't really know how many here, a couple of thousand here, and also to the members of the MEK and PMOI that are in Ashraf 3 in Albania, all of whom are freedom fighters who gave up their arms to America during the Iraq situation, have been under America's protection since then, have had a terrible time with Iraq, with Iran. They're being protected in Albania. Although the Iraq government has made several attempts at destroying the compound there, including once when I was there. And we had an entire weekend of really getting detailed information about what's going on inside Iran. First thing I should tell you is that what they've been executing, it's hard to say how many. They announce about 2 a day. Everyone suspects they're doing more. And these executions now are not just taking place in Tehran. This execution this morning took place in a city about 30 miles south of Tehran. The 2 people that were executed were Hamed Validi, 46 years old, who was a member of the Mujahideen al Khalq, and Nima Shahi, who was 31. Now, the regime belatedly said they were members of Mossad. But here I'm going to show you an article in the Washington Times, which is several days ago, the 3rd of April, in which this group of people are the people who are on death row in Iran. And you'll see down here, or right down here, are the 2 that were murdered today. These are not members of Mossad. These are members of the dissident group known as MEK or PMOI that's been in existence for 60 years and has consistently for 47 years been an opponent of the Ayatollah, both Ayatollahs and the theocratic government, and has for 40 years been put forward a 10-point plan that would make Iran a democracy. And they are waging a war in Iran with very little attention given, except occasionally a newspaper like the Washington Times, which is a decent, honest newspaper. This is the group that existed on April 3rd. They are now reduced by at least 6 on this group that have been assassinated or killed, hung. I recognize some of them here. You'll recognize them too because we announced it on our broadcast when it happened. There are about half of them are still alive, and I really wonder why it is that there are protests and demonstrations and for them to keep them alive. Now, these people are being killed merely because they oppose the government. The 2 that we're talking about here were arrested at protests. Now, remember, and this we should get to the attention of the president has said that if they killed people at protests, there would be very serious consequences.
And we have their picture up on the screen right now, Mayor.
Well, that's Hamed Validi. And the group that was identified in the Washington Times is really a fraction of the numbers that they have in prison, of which probably considerably more than half are members of the MEK. And then others are also dissidents either in other groups or just individuals who opposed the 47 years of torture by the group that's negotiating, which has become worse and worse and worse. On March 30th and 31st, 4 members of the Mujahideen were killed. They were executed in Iran. And then another. So far, Fahid Ben Amarian Pua Gobadi, Babak Alipur, Mohammed Tagavi, Akbar Denishevkar, and Abu Hassan Montazar have been killed. And strangely, 3 of them are in their 30s and 3 of them are in their 60s and 59 to 68. So it's 3 younger members and 3 very senior members. This organization is ignored because of the substantial propaganda of both the Islamic regime and the Shah. If you were to look among the prisoners that are being held, I tried to see if we could identify any that were associated with the Shah, and there are none. Now, why is it that the regime is so afraid of MEK? They're killing all these people, and they're leaving anybody working for the Shah internally alone. Well, I'll tell you why. First of all, a good possibility is there's nobody working inside. It's a complete sham. The other possibility is the Shah is working with the IRGC, with whom he has bragged that he has at least 100,000 contacts. Well, I wonder who's investigating that. 100,000 contacts with a terrorist organization by a guy who's never worked in his life and is the son and grandson of legendary murderers and thieves. Should really be investigated. So I really do think we're going to try very hard to see if we can organize some kind of demonstration to bring to the attention of the world the fact that these people are being killed just regularly. They announce 2 a day. There's every suspicion that there's more, and it could very well be that the others are not members of MEK, so we don't really have a hold on them. Although, believe it or not, I was able to witness over the weekend communications with these people before they died in prison, and I hope at some point they'll be made public. It is very, very hard to maintain your composure and much less your temper when you hear this. They actually had something that looked like a party. The 6 that died before, and they did it on purpose to show the regime that they're not afraid of death. That's a brave person. When you can stare death in the face and laugh and tell them that they're not killing the movement. In fact, they're making it bigger and worse for them. And it's true. They're getting more and more volunteers. And it's the part of this that is not being recognized for reasons that I only partially understand. But we'll tell you more about them. Today, I spent part of the day with a 97-year-old woman named Aziz Razai. And Aziz had 13 children, I believe, 8 of which were killed by the regimes, 4 by the Shah, and tortured. She was tortured by the Shah. You remember we had Mossad on last week, who was tortured by the Shah. I bring you them because I want you to realize that people say, oh, the Shah wasn't so bad. I don't know what so bad is when you murder thousands and thousands of your own people. And you also seem to like to torture them before you murder them. She spent 3 years, and her daughter spent 4 years in the Shah's prison, which is the same prison used by the terrorists, and they were tortured. She showed us the scars she has on her feet, which were cut open by a whip. So there were a straight line and a gap into the foot. And as I said, she's a 97-year-old woman, and of course she's somewhat fragile, but remarkably not. As I said, she lost 8 children, 4 to the Shah and 4 to the Ayatollah, and sees very little difference between the two, and is very hopeful that President Trump will somehow deliver them from dictatorship and persecution. One of her sons, one of her sons actually probably began the revolution against the Shah, and that was maybe Razeh. He was a 19-year-old, and he was in prison, and he asked for a trial. And at the trial, he used it to lay out all of the murders that the Shah had committed in the last 7 or 8 years. And the trial went on for a very long time, and it got some publicity outside of Iran, and he became a hero in Iran. There were streets named after him, and but we'll give you the whole picture of this, because it gives you the sense of what these people have gone through. This is not just dictatorship, and this is maniacal, both the Shah and the Ayatollah, and it's got to come to an end. But if you look at it long term, this is about 130 years, 47 of it being the Ayatollah. So what's going on right now? Well, we really don't know. In terms of the talks, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff have gone off to Islamabad, which is in Pakistan, for a meeting that may or may not take place with the negotiators for the Islamic theocracy, who have not committed to showing up. I believe they will probably show up, because I think if they don't, we'll be bombing them by the end of the day. And I don't think they want to get bombed. I think they know when they've pushed it just a little too far. The unfortunate part is they'll come back and they'll make some conciliatory gestures, which won't last more than a day, like when the president got all excited that they were going to open the Strait of Hormuz, which was told to him by Aragachi, the foreign minister, only to be reversed 2 hours later by the IRGC. And Aragachi was described by the IRGC spokesman: "We don't listen to a moron." So you have to understand that the people that are sent to negotiate with Steve and Jared and the vice president are either more moderate or act more moderate. The people actually running it now, there's every reason to believe they're much worse than even the Ayatollah was. Remember, the Ayatollah did not want his son to succeed him. He wanted Larijani to succeed him. He went so far as to say, even if Larijani couldn't, he didn't want his son to succeed him. His son was very much a creature of the IRGC, spent all his time with them, engaged in a lot of the torture and for fun that they do. And I do believe now, who knows what he is. I mean, there was an article that was written that made us think he doesn't have a face left. Now, remember, We haven't seen him since the first day of the attack. We haven't heard from him since then in his own voice. Maybe he doesn't have a voice. Maybe he's not alive. He's a figurehead, so the IRGC can exercise a complete control. But the reality is, we've gone from bad to worse. This group is considerably more. I should say considerably more. A step or two further on the theocratic, sadistic grade. They utilize torture more. Now, the Shah utilized torture. The Ayatollahs did also, but they also murdered pretty quickly. But people in Iran say that it feels a little more like that they are now getting the worst treatment of the Shah, who used to do a lot of torture, and the Ayatollahs, who did a lot of murder. The update in the war. This is like a checkers match, except people are cheating. On Friday, the president announced that they had agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz. Had a massive impact on the market, a massive impact on the price of crude oil, massive in price, not a massive, but an in price of gasoline too. And then within a very short period of time, it was reversed, and their purported reason was that we had not stopped our blockade of their ships. Now, that, of course, was known to the negotiators, that we weren't going to stop our blockade of their ship. And as an act of good faith, or an act hopefully trying to hold him back from attacking them, they made this commitment, reversed immediately by whoever is really running the government. It is always very, very difficult to be negotiating with people who don't have the authority to bind the government. And it doesn't seem like they do. It seems like they want to placate, and then when it gets to the hardliners, they just say, "The hell with it. We're not going to do that. We're not going to play by those rules." In the Strait of Hormuz itself, as part of the IRGC asserting itself over the commitment made by Aragachi, which they regarded as the commitment of a moron, they also made that point by shooting at two vessels, not American, but two vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know if our action yesterday was in retaliation for that, but the United States, for the first time, shot and stopped one of their tankers trying to leave the Strait of Hormuz, the Tuska tanker, which the president said is as large as a aircraft carrier, and they took control of it. And it is now not going to wherever it was going to deliver oil. Right now, we have the oil, which I think probably makes the president very happy, because any number of times he's said, "I want to take their oil and nobody will let me do it." Well, I don't know who's really stopping him. I think those are figures of speech. But right now, they were stopped and boarded by the USS destroyer Spruance, named for the great admiral of the Battle of Midway. And they were trying to break the blockade, and no one's broken the blockade. We've turned back 28 of their ships so far. This one required a force to do it. 24 is the number, at least as of midday today. We also are now spreading out our blockade, and we are interdicting Iranian ships that appear to have oil or other sanctioned products anywhere in the world. And Pete Hegseth says it'll take about 10% of our Navy to do that. And we should be able to do it pretty close to 100%, which will be another way of squeezing their economy so that they ultimately just can't wage war and hopefully are removed. Because if we end all this and these maniacs are still in charge, and believe me, the people in charge right now are maniacs. It's going to not only look bad, it's going to be bad. So it looks to me like we're starting to get a lot tougher, particularly taking their ship. Now, was that in response for their firing on 2 ships? I don't know. But it was to assert and to show that we're in charge of the Strait of Hormuz, not Iran, which is what IRGC attempted to do, which is what IRGC was angry about, that the political people had given away because they claim they're in charge. The new group, you should understand, has introduced a theological principle that is not widely accepted, even among the maniacs in the Islamic Republic of Iran. The group around the present Khomeini, who again is questionable as to whether he's sentient or even alive, but he is a great believer in Imam Ali, and he is a great believer in the divinity of Imam Ali and the return of Imam Ali. And this group of Muslims are known as people who practice Mahadism. What Mahadism is, I believe he was the 10th or the 12th caliph, and he was killed. And this is a Shiite extremist belief. Not all Shiites believe this. Sunnis don't at all. And the belief is he's going to return as a savior, more or less as a Messiah. This was introduced in recent years by a don't know if he was a cleric or just a theologian, Mesbah Yazdi, who argued that obeying the supreme leader was akin to obeying God, that he was God's representative on earth. And he revived an adaptation of an ancient messianic Islamist doctrine known as Mahadism. And Mahadism had pretty much been rejected by most, even very conservative members of the Islam religion do not accept that this imam is going to come back. But here's the problem. Part of that is the belief propagated by Mesbah Yazdi, embraced by the new Ayatollah and the IRGC members who are now running it. They're all part of his group, that you'll hasten the return of Imam Mahdi by destroying Israel. He's offended by the Jews holding Jerusalem, and if they're removed, eliminated from river to sea, out all the Jews out, then he'll return. And this motivates a lot of their insane behavior. Hussein Yakhta, who is a senior Revolutionary Guard commander, expressed this on television just several days ago. The infallible imam said that the Iranians would enter Jerusalem and carry out a massacre there. The Iranians say, kill, kill. The infallible imam said, kill, kill, said Yakhta, who is one of their key figures. And this is now at the core of this new group. It's hard to know exactly who's running it. You can. It is not. It's not the people we negotiate with. It's not the people that are out front. It's a little like kind of the Biden thing, right? It's like a little group behind the curtain. The best guess is it's being run by Ahmed Vahidi, not President Masoud Pezeshkian, but a Revolutionary Guard commander who is considered to be one of the most radical people in Iran and one of the most fearsome people in Iran, trained by Soleimani, of course, and a accomplished murderer. So you sort of have two messages being sent by the Iranians. Aragachi says it's open, and then the IRGC says no, that Aragachi didn't have the authority to do that, and that the strait was closed, and a senior hardline lawmaker who's part of this new group that believes in the return of the imam, Morteza Mahmoudi, basically said, we will open it when we get the order from Imam Khamenei, not by the tweets of some idiot. That's the foreign minister they're discussing. So what that really means is that we got rid of the Ayatollah, but as was feared, it could get worse, or it's gotten worse. And are they interested in a peace?
So you predict
I don't think so.
Iran, Mayor, will Iran show up in Islamabad?
Yes, I believe they'll show up because I do think that even though there is a legitimate split going on, I believe they also realize that this can be used by them to gain time. So the more apparently conciliatory group will show up. They will sound like they're making progress. The president will say we're making progress. And then a day later, they'll renege on everything they said. And then that buys even more time. Remember, they're trying to dig out a lot of Iran. They're trying to dig out another bit of information that I got is that they are suspected of having more missiles and ammunition dug and stashed away deep in the mountains, and it takes time to get to that. Plus, they're trying to activate some of their delivery systems that were not completely destroyed, just interfered with, that are capable of being fixed. And our satellites are showing us that they're doing that. They're also burying a lot of things. This is all from satellite imagery. So they're taking advantage of this time to regroup, which I don't know. I don't know when we're going to call an end to it. Well, I want to introduce a new sponsor that we have, and I want to do it myself, and God willing, they'll be with us for some time. Did you know that you can build an entire online business with Sticker Mule Pro? It's $9 a month. It comes with everything you need to sell patriotic merchandise online. You get an e-commerce store, an email marketing site, a customer service platform, the ability to do transactions, and they help put that together for you. Actually, they put it together for you. and give you, whatever specialized advice you need on exactly what you're doing. But basically, they'll make available to you large amounts of patriotic merchandise that people, love to have. I certainly do. So why don't you sign up as a sticker at stickermule.com/pro and use code Rudy, and you'll get 3 months free, and you'll find out if you like it. That's stickermule.com/pro and use code Rudy for 3 months free. I mean, I've tried myself to do some of the merchandise on online. Very, very hard to do. They make it very easy, and therefore you can put your mind to making money on it rather than trying to figure out the ins and outs of it. So give it a try. It's stickermule.com/pro. Shall we take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Welcome back
And
to
we're back.
America's Mayor Live from Paris, France. I did have the beautiful experience of going to a Latin mass at St. Nicholas of Charbonnet, which is about 2 miles from Notre Dame. I was going to go to Notre Dame, where I've been before. In fact, I was mistaken for Mayor Bloomberg once there by the French priest, and the 2 American priests got very upset. He announced me from the pulpit as, "We have Mayor Bloomberg here with us. We have Mayor Bloomberg here with us." And the 2 Italian priests, the 2 Irish priests, American Irish priests from Indiana got very, very upset. He said, "That's not Mayor Bloomberg." Here, they didn't recognize me at all. It's a very, it was almost like going to mass in a monastery. Beautiful, beautiful singing. It took me back to when I was an altar boy and a child. I just wanted to get up and help with the washing of the hands. Although the altar boys were perfect, a lot better than my group. Um, and I thought I had remembered all the responses that altar boys make at a Latin mass. They're much more involved, much more involved. But I only remembered the initial ones, and the others. I mean, the others came back somewhat, but I used to think I'd be able to do it without having to look at the card, because after a while I was. I'm gonna have to spruce up if I want to do that. But you do see why people love the Latin Mass. It is it's a work of art, and it engages all of your senses to bring you closer to God. The music, beautiful poetry of Latin, the incense odor, it's on purpose. Excite every sense, and of course, it's. And we'll go into this in more detail at some point if you're interested, but it's much more of a worship of God than a worship of the congregation. And I had just read the first three books of the Bible, particularly Leviticus, which lays out all of the very, very intricate practices of Jewish priests, Aaron and his sons. And you see the influence of that first century Jewish service in the first half of the Latin Mass. And I remember studying it and studying the comparisons between that service and the Latin Mass. And both of them are God-centric as opposed to human-centric. Now, people say, well, it's terrible to have it in Latin you don't understand. Well, that's not true. I mean, you have a missal that has one side of the page, the Latin, and the other side of the page, the English. And after a while, you memorize it. Certainly the ordinary, what's called the ordinary of the Mass. And then there are readings that are changed from Mass to Mass to Mass to Mass. And those are in English for you to read. And then the important one, the Gospel, is read in this case, was read in French, but will be read in English. But it is uplifting and beautiful. It also helps with young people getting a sense of beauty. I think maybe my love of opera came out of serving high masses, and certainly the opera came from masses. So I guess we'll get the answer to Ted's question tomorrow, and the Iranians want to surprise us. They want to. Maybe we're going to show up. Maybe we're not going to show up. You guys have to show up, but we can be. We don't have to show up. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. The New York Post has an editorial today, basically saying the talks are useless. As U.S. negotiators head back to Pakistan for more peace talks, we have to ask, what's the point? Now, they go through the major disagreement between Aragachi and the Iranian National Guard that really slapped him down to size, and he's the guy doing the negotiating. If we're going to be negotiating, we should be negotiating with the people, negotiating with the people in charge. And they've closed the Gulf of the Strait of Hormuz again. They're attacking. And the simple answer is, even if they agreed, why would we ever believe them? They've lied consistently and they believe their religion or ideology, whichever it is, allows them to do that, tells them to do that in order to overcome the infidel and have the whole world dedicated to Allah. Another one of these glamorous Iranian women, sounds like there are several different standards for Iranian women. In Iran, of course, if they show a little bit of hair, they'll be stoned to death or otherwise killed. And they still do that. They just don't make. We don't. At this point, the internet is cut off in Iran. MEK does have methods, which I'm not free or at liberty to explain how they do it, but even for them, the ability to communicate is somewhat less fulsome, and they're experts at it. Although I did have my speech on Sunday and Dr. Maria's broadcast in about 3/4 of Iran by television, by a satellite that they have. And also, I had the distinct honor of having it broadcast to the people of Ashraf, who are in Albania and are would really like to get into Iran. Most of them are former or military people, trained and have done battle over the last 47 years in an effort to overthrow the regime. They've taken two facilities of either Basit or IRGC or both in smaller towns. They, of course, conducted a major raid on the Ayatollah's compound 4 days before the American-Israeli bombing and killed about 3 times more IRGC members than they lost. Now, that is also where they lost about 100 people. The question is that they don't know how many died and how many were captured. And by the way, the people they executed, they're not giving the bodies back to the family. No one knows what they're doing with the bodies. And I do think that strict Muslim law is very similar to Jewish law about a quick burial, and they are violating that. So these very strict Islamic principles, they apply when they want to, and they ignore when they don't, which is exactly the definition of a person that's not religious, but an opportunist. In this case, they're opportunists and insane, which is why they can't have nuclear weapons. But a woman named Shimam Mafi, who lives in Los Angeles, was arrested yesterday for brokering the sale of drones, bombs, bomb fuses, and millions of rounds of ammunition manufactured by Iran. And what she was caught with is the material that was sold to Sudan. Now, Iran is prohibited both by the United States and the United Nations to deal in arms. If you want to, Ted, I put up a picture of her, but I don't know if you can get it. We're not connected that way. I can show it to you. We'll try to get it connected for tomorrow. That's her right there. You can see she's in a very luxurious car. She's looks like she's some kind of a big red lipstick and a movie star. These are supposed to be extreme. Here she is being arrested by the FBI. Isn't it nice seeing the FBI arrest people other than Republicans? There she is being arrested by the FBI. And the main violation is 50 United States Code 1705 for brokering the sale of drones, bombs, bomb fuses, and millions of rounds of ammunition. She became, of course, a resident of the United States under Barack Hussein Obama, who I imagine she felt very comfortable here because he was one of the main financiers of the Ayatollah's terrorism. Now, how many of these people are there in the United States that were let in by the favorable Democrat administrations? These administrations of Obama and Biden bent over backwards to finance Iran, which means in the case of Obama, he was giving them money to kill us. And nobody cares because he's a prince. Prince Barry Obama. He's a prince. The oil companies are furiously diversifying. Now, this is a difficult period because of the fluctuations in the price of oil. And for us, we see it mostly with gasoline, but liquid natural gas also. But in a way, there's something healthy happening. Being forced to diversify, that's a good thing. The fact that 20% of our oil comes out of that little, it's absurd, isn't it? It's absurd. Why didn't they build a port down in southern Iran and transmit it by pipeline? Well, now, Saudi Arabia has, and the Emirates have. And they have pipelines, and they're now using them at maximum capacity, which maybe makes up for 40% of their losses. They can overload it and make up about 40% of what they're not able to ship through the Strait of Hormuz. The hope is to be able to replace that quickly. So you get a company like Chevron is now putting a lot more money into Venezuela. And what a great thing that the president opened up Venezuela when this is happening. Also, the United States is now starting to see those ships that were coming here, hundreds, to buy oil and natural gas. We're starting to get a run on it. So there are side effects of this that might be very, very good for diversifying the world's economy and making it healthier. Different companies are looking different places where they have their contacts and property. As I said, Chevron is seeking to expand its footprint in Venezuela, where they had been kicked out by, I guess, by Chavez, even before Maduro. And also, they're being kicked out of some of the other companies, frightened other companies from investing because they were afraid their money would be seized by the government. But Mobil is also looking at properties. BP, British Petroleum, which really was Iranian petroleum, because British Petroleum started by stealing Iranian oil and cheating the hell out of them. British Petroleum is looking for more oil in Africa. And Total Energies has signed an exploration deal with Turkey, where Turkey, Israel, a bunch of those countries that really weren't big players in the oil market have found oil in the waters within their jurisdiction. Israel, Bahrain, Turkey. So they've done some exploiting of it. But now these companies are willing to put in a lot more money so that they can diversify and not have to rely on that little 20-mile thing there that if America's not successful could be a problem, or who knows, it could someday be a problem for other reasons. It's absurd to have to go through the eye of the needle, right, with something so important as oil. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum have been on the phone urging our oil companies to increase dramatically their oil output to counter the rise in price, which of course came down dramatically when it was announced that the strait was open. But I don't know what's happening now. I don't know. I don't know what's happening now with the fact that the strait now is closed again. I would assume it's probably going back up again. Although most of the experts think it's hit its peak, that even before the opening of the strait, that enough alternatives have been introduced already so that, yep, it's going to stay up there if major changes don't happen, but not going to go up much more. Also, Chevron is working with Basra Oil in Iraq. But Africa, South America, other parts of Asia are going to benefit from this. It'll end up with a lot more diversification. Even Greece has apparently a good deal of oil, and Exxon is working on a deal with Greece. So this is what's necessary to create a much safer market that isn't dominated by one, like China dominates the rare earth commodities and minerals, and the Middle East dominated oil until now, until Donald J. Trump came along and broke this open. So Chevron chief executive Mike Wirth said the country's recent move to change laws that govern fossil fuels also makes it easier for them to make fast deals and replace this much more quickly. So he gives credit to President Trump for that. And the United States is encouraging oil companies to and creating incentives for them to do more and more investing. So, good things can come out of emergencies and things like what's going on right now. It's almost ridiculous to go from what we're talking about to Swalwell, but it's impossible not to go to Swalwell. These Democrats, slimy Democrats like Ruben Gallego and the other guy, who say they lied, they were shocked that he was a liar. Shocked that he was a liar. I mean, he lied systemically about Russian collusion. That's about as serious a lie as you can make. It implicates a government. It hurt the United States government. He tried to dislodge a lawfully elected president. I don't know, that's pretty close to treason. I mean, this guy's a scumbag. And when you look at the number of women now showing up that he raped, well, I guess there are two that are definite rapes. There's possibly a third one, and then there are two others that have talked about how sexually offensive he was. And he's just plain offensive. The lying that he did was outrageous. Now, Tulsi Gabbard has put together a very, very good effort to show that to show one aspect of the 5 or 6 pronged illegal Democrat attempt to destroy Donald Trump. And that's the one involving the conversation with Zelensky, which was a perfectly legitimate conversation that led to an impeachment. Now, this was orchestrated, as I told you back then, by a man named Eric Shermella. I gave them evidence about this that we had, including on tape. And Shermella was a leftover on the National Security Council. He had been Biden's representative. He stayed over into the Trump administration. During the Biden administration, he played a very big role in helping to fix the Burisma case, and also urging the prosecutors in Ukraine to dig up dirt on Trump and on Manafort and on Donald Trump Jr. And the five of them, four of whom have owned up to this, said they were shocked that he came into the room and they were supposed to be there for some kind of a joint intelligence meeting, and he walked in and he said that we really needed their help in stopping Trump. Now, remember that the Ukrainian government was directly engaged in trying to destroy Trump. Now, you need proof of that. The ambassador from Ukraine to Washington, D.C. stood up in September of 2016 and endorsed Hillary Clinton because of the gravy train. Going back to Biden and Democrats were using Ukraine. This is what the prosecutors basically as a gravy train. And then they come there and lecture about how Ukrainians shouldn't be corrupt. And of course, Biden and his fellow Democrats were among the most corrupt, or certainly were participating in it with them. But Hans Menke in the Federalist, you might want to look at his article, which lays out a very, very strong case of exactly how they framed Trump. And Slimy Swalwell was a big part of this. I don't know why. I guess this is a necessary poll to take. And they took a poll of I think it was let's see who did this poll. Doesn't really say. Well, this poll was done of residents of Nassau and Suffolk County. 1/3 of them believe the Jews should get over the Holocaust. I think they make too much of it. 15% believe that the Nazi genocide was exaggerated. 30% don't believe that Holocaust education should be required to be taught in public schools, and that Jews should collectively move on. Having just watched Schindler's List about 2 nights ago, I'd recommend that these jackasses look at it and get a sense that this was a unique part of our history in terms of cruelty, insane prejudice, a prejudice that's the longest and the most fearsome in the history of the world, and a prejudice that's, like all of them, irrational. But this one has claimed so many lives and has lasted for so long. And here I thought it was over, or close to over. You can't get the Democrat Party to stand up against anti-Semitism anymore. You should know that the state of Florida leads all states in choice education. 11.2% of its total education budget goes to choice programs. 53% of Florida's K through 12 students now attend a school selected by their parents. 70 to 80% of Black and Hispanic parents want that for their children. And your parents, if you're one of them, your Democratic representative, whether he's Black or not, is voting to stop that because of the corrupt teachers union. That's why. The murder in Shreveport, Louisiana, I don't even know how to report on it. Shammer Elkins, 31, killed 8 children, 3 to 11. I think 7 of the 8 were his children, with 2 different women. an older child or teenager, and a younger child jumped off the roof to get away from him. Three others, a woman and two other youngsters, suffered wounds, one of which is life-threatening. And then Elkins was shot and killed by police during this ridiculous encounter, which took place in several parts of Shreveport, Louisiana. He was a member of the National Guard. He had I don't know if he had two wives or he had a wife and a mistress, but they lived right near each other. And both of them may have been shot. Very difficult, very, very difficult. There are pictures, of course, of them, and this does not appear to be anything beyond a domestic incident. But I mean, that's not meant to minimize it. It's meant to categorize it. Whether it's a terrorist incident or a domestic incident, this is the kind of evil that occurs in the world that you find a hard time embracing, understanding. Now, as the United States quibbles with Iran and allows them to delay things, I thought Israel was supposed to stop, but they hit yesterday. They hit Hezbollah very, very hard with two launches in two different parts. One in the Bent Jabal area, which is the headquarters for Hamas, and then in an area in the more in the western part of Jordan, in the Litani area. I'm sorry, in the Litani area. They also reviewed because they hadn't really laid out the details of it. Their attack on March 2nd. I'm sorry, March 2nd is when Hezbollah entered into it. The attack that they were reviewing what took place on the 8th. And they say it was almost as significant as the beeper incident when they blew up all the beepers. They used 50 aircraft. They hit and eliminated 100 Hezbollah targets in the Begaa Valley and southern Lebanon. And they took out the nerve center of the operation, which is why Hezbollah is now in a state of mass confusion and really not able to lend any assistance to Iran and having a very, very hard time giving assistance to itself. 40 people were killed, 4,000 were wounded, and their communication network was completely destroyed. That all happened on April 8th. And at the time, didn't get the attention, I guess, that it deserved. And it makes it possible for Israel to, as Bibi said, there still is unfinished business. But the unfinished business, I don't think, is anywhere near as important as the business they've already gotten through. President has told them to stop. We always wonder how much of that is real and how much of that is good cop, bad cop, because he doesn't seem to stop and the president doesn't seem to get angry. And we know the president gets angry when he gets played with too much, right? So does everybody else. So I don't know. I don't know how much of that is part of the strategy and how much of that is real. But right now, Bibi is banging the hell out of Hezbollah. Thank you. They want to kill us too. So thank you, Bibi. There was usually these things are covered up and you won't read about it anywhere else, I think, but the Post. But Hamas terrorists are systemically exploiting women in Gaza. They are bribing widows for sex, exchanging food for sex, and also using them in human trafficking programs. One of the women abused that is being done by all their members, as though it's an organization set up for sexual harassment. This is the organization that Mayor Mondami and his wife respect so much. They're animals. They're determined foes of the United States of America. And how an American mayor can support them is sick, or fail to be able to stand against them. And his wife supports them, and his father supports them. So we're anxious to see what happens tomorrow in Islamabad. I will tomorrow give you some more of the results of my trip here and briefings that I received on what's going on inside Iran. It's a much more hopeful picture that an overthrow can happen. Not that it absolutely will happen, but there are more resources inside that are consistently chipping away, and need a little bit of help in certain areas, not troops on the ground, maybe not even money, almost like moral support, and maybe other things that remain a little secret. I wouldn't be surprised with enough degrading, somewhat more than has been done, maybe even with the present level, that the regime can fall. Sometimes, the building hangs on like this for a while, and then a big wind comes along and it goes down. I'm not saying that Iran is quite in that situation, but after all of the reasons I got and all the video I got to see, there's a lot of attacks going on by the dissidents in Iran that for some reason we don't find out about. And I'd say 70 to 80% of it is MEK. By the way, there is no other organization. When you ask, well, who are the other dissident organizations? The Shah is just an outside bullshit voice and has no presence inside with anything approaching a militia. He wants to work with the IRGC so he could have a quick savak. And if you met, and if I have the picture, I don't think I do. Let's see, we'll get one for tomorrow. And I want to be careful with the pictures that I use and go through them a little more carefully for reasons of security. But if we'll see if we can play for you some of the video with Aziz Razai, who is 97, and about what was done to her by both the Shah and by the Ayatollah. As I said, 4 children lost to the Shah, 4 children lost to the Ayatollah, not just killed, tortured endlessly. She was tortured for 3 years, his daughter for 4 years. Her daughter was being tortured while she was pregnant and gave birth inside the Shah's prison. That's the kind of animal the Pahlavi family creates. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Go over to Dr. Maria's show right now on Lindell TV. She's going to be also discussing a good deal of what happened with the MEK today. She had some meetings of her own, and we had some meetings together, and we've probably got 2 weeks of information for you. I just want to make sure we don't step on any landmines that we shouldn't. But I am hopeful that this can result. So to me, this is a victory if Iran is non-nuclear and the Iranian people are delivered from the tormentors and persecutors that have afflicted them. First, the Pahlavi family, who stole everything that they had and killed them and tortured them, as we're going to bring to you. And then, of course, the unbelievably insane 47 years of the Ayatollah, and the attacks that they've made on Americans and the Americans they've killed. So let's hope that we get this resolved. And if we do, I think we can have peace in the Middle East. They're the biggest barrier. I also think we can have some real reform in the Muslim religion, but that's another issue. Thank you very much for listening in, and we'll be back. We'll be back with you tomorrow. And pray for the people of Iran and the people of Israel and the people of Ukraine, and pray for our great president. He's a great president, but he's great because you saved him, because you guide him. Like all of us, we need you. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve